Hey everyone, this is Tiqqle, and in this video we're going to be talking about Echoing Shock, what that ability is in Shadowlands, and the recent adjustment that was made in regard to that and Stormkeeper. We'll dive right into it, but that's the plan. So we'll do the overview, and then we'll jump into how that interaction was recently changed, but it wasn't included in the patch notes. Alright, so what is Echoing Shock? It is a talent in this tier. It replaced... I don't even forgot what it's called. Call of Thunder or something like that. Alright, I've purged BFA from my mind. Shock the target for about 1,000 damage and create an ancestral echo, causing your next damaging or healing spell to be to be cast a second time 1 second later for free. So what does that look like? Well, let's go ahead and use Echo, and then I'll cast a Lava Burst. You can see it over here on the right and in the bottom left when I'm casting. So I only cast Lava Burst once, but it went off and it cast twice. 1 second later, it cast again. Now, pretty cool, right? Well, it is actually really cool, and it's actually a really fun ability. You can actually use the Echo with a heal, so you can Echo that target, but you have to do damage to a target to proc Echo buff on yourself, and then you can cast Healing Surge. Then it will heal you, and then it will heal you again 1 second later, so that's actually pretty cool. Now, the thing that you have to keep in mind, though, is in PvE, there's a lot of different uses then. Suddenly, it opens up a lot of different potential. What can I use it for? Well, I can also use Echo, and then I can use Earthquake. It pops twice, and then it ticks, 2 times as much. Seems really good. I could use Echo and Ice Fury, but when I do that, not surprisingly, it doesn't give me 8 stacks of the Frost Shock buff. It only gives me 4, but it does repeat the Maelstrom generation component of Ice Fury. Now, the mastery of an Elemental Shaman is to have a chance to repeat the cast of what you just casted. For Ice Fury, Lava Burst, Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, right? And it will also generate less Maelstrom than your main cast. It will also do less damage than that main cast when it does that mirrored cast. Now, Echoing Shock's a little bit different because it doesn't do less damage and it doesn't generate less Maelstrom. It actually does the exact same for the most part. That's where a few of the interesting things come in. And I think this is kind of my overview of the ability. Heals, AoE, Maelstrom generation is same. The damage is the same-ish. And so that's the deal. Now, let's go into a little bit more about it so you understand a little bit more of the nuances of the damage and how that works. Because that's where some of the interesting interactions are taking place that I'm not sure if they're intended or not, but I'm going to give you my opinion if I think they're good or not. Because this actually was a recent update, and they changed things. Blizzard changed a few things, and it doesn't make me very happy. Just telling you right up front. All right, so now I've explained a little bit about Echoing Shock. I've told you how it works overall. But now when we talk about echoing damage, I'm going to show you what happens when I use this particular legendary. When you cast Earthshock, your next Earthquake will do a 250% additional damage. Seems really nice, right? Well, let's go ahead and see how it works with Echoing Shock, because that's where things start to change. And Blizzard has been making some changes to LA Shaman lately, removing some cool stuff, but this has kind of been the way it is. It's just kind of how to show it. Now what we'll do is we use Echo, and then we're going to use Earthquake. We'll put it right over here. You'll see now it's going to hit twice. You're going to be able to see there's 2.3Ks, and then there's also 300s. There's 1.2K, 2.9K, and then 300, right? So wait, Tiqqle, you said it repeats the damage. Well, it does, but not buffed damage. And that's where the rubber hits the road in terms of these legendaries, but also in terms of Echoing Shock, because this is where some of the limitations of the actual ability are now. So this has always been the case, even through Alpha, having your Earthquakes, one of them do a lot of damage from the buff and the other one not do a lot of damage. That's the way it has been. I don't think that's necessarily a bug, because it seems like that's how they wanted it to work. But what has been different recently is the fact that Stormkeeper now is doing something similar. So what Stormkeeper used to do, and what I'll do here is I'll pull up a quick video from where I made this. This was back in, let's go ahead and see when this was. This was back in April. So if we go ahead and look at what I was doing, I was using Stormkeeper, and then I was using Echo, Stormkeeper, and then I echoed, and you can see I have 2 buffs of Stormkeeper. So watch what happens. This is the way it used to work. I use Echo, so now I have the echoing buff, and then I pressed Lightning Bolt once. So I pressed it once, it used 1 charge. It hit the target once, twice, and then it repeated again. So it actually it cast the Lightning Bolt, once with an overload, and then it echoed into a second time with an overload. And you can see here that that's basically what happened on the screen. I didn't get the second overload because it died, but I did 1 Lightning Bolt, which was the button I pressed. It overloaded, and then I got my second Lightning Bolt that was buffed up because it was, you can tell because the first lightning bolt hit for 1.5k, the second one crit for a little bit over 3k. And then I still had another charge of Stormkeeper. So you can see it here. So what happened, Tiqqle? Well, basically what happened was when you use Stormkeeper, it buffs your next 2 lightning bolts to be 150% increased damage. So when I echo and then I use one of them, what it was doing is it was using a buffed lightning bolt, getting a buffed overload, and then it was mirroring that with Echoing Shock with another buffed lightning bolt and an overload. It was great. I got those 2 things, and that was a big burst because in the time that I was getting that second lightning bolt, I was able to pump in the second charge of Stormkeeper with with the next global. So if that makes sense, basically I was able to get that first lightning bolt, and then with the echo, I was able to hit really hard with that echo with that second charge of lightning bolt. So I almost was able to get 3 charges of Stormkeeper out if I was using echo, and that felt really nice. Now you might say to yourself, well, Tiqqle, that didn't quite operate like this legendary. And you're right, it didn't. It didn't at the time. And so some people have been saying that it's a bug, that was a bug, that you were echoing your first charge and it was mirroring that charge, and that was a bug. I thought it felt very good for the class, particularly in PvP, giving us a big burst punch every 1 minute, because Ellie, otherwise, what else do we have? That's our big damage, other than our lava burst procs, right? So now what have they done, Tiqqle? Why did you show me that video? Well, let me show you what they've done now. So basically, if I go ahead and I'm going to use Stormkeeper, I'm going to use Echoing Shock, and see I have 2 stacks. I use Echo. I have the buff. I have 2 stacks. If I press Lightning Bolt once, it uses both charges of Stormkeeper. And then that's it. So it basically just deals out the damage of your entire Stormkeeper with 1 press. It doesn't all happen at once. It's still delayed by 1 second, but it uses both lightning bolts are using the buffed lightning bolts. Now, some people are saying, yo, that actually makes sense because that's the same way it works with Earthquake. Some people are saying, no, that's clearly a bug. So let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think is the correct way? Should we be getting up to basically 3 charges of Stormkeeper with Echo, or should we only be able to use the 2? And is it now fixed? So let me know down below which way you think is the better way. I want to let Blizzard know, because I personally feel like this way is actually pretty sad. Echoing Shock was one way that we could do a lot of burst damage, and in this case, it doesn't really feel that way anymore. So some people on the stream have been saying, well, Tiqqle, just echo the second lightning bolt then. Well, all right, I'll show you what that looks like. Basically, what we have to do is you have to use Stormkeeper. We'll use the first lightning bolt, right? That's a buffed one doing about 3.4k, and now I'll echo, and I'll use the second charge. Okay, well, seemed to work, right? Not exactly. What happened was the first lightning bolt was a crit, so that was actually the buffed version of the lightning bolt. The second lightning bolt was not the buffed version, but it actually, this is probably the preferred method now, because I don't know why you would want to use Echo on Stormkeeper now, because now it's just going to be giving, like, it'll be using all the procs, but the procs could just be used in an instant cast format. So this is kind of, this isn't really solving the problem, because that second lightning bolt is not buffed, unfortunately. You see, and it didn't have a 100% chance to overload. So this is kind of a nerf to the burst damage that Ellie had. And if you were to use this, you might be asking, what happens with Chain Lightning? Well, Chain Lightning, it actually could be kind of useful in PvE to generate Maelstrom to echo Stormkeeper Chain Lightning. But because it's going to overload so much, you'll be able to dish out a lot of AoE. So if I were to show this, if I start from 0 Maelstrom, I'm going to echo. I'm going to use the Chain Lightning. I'm going to go ahead and get up to the, yeah, so you get up to 70 instantly because it's all overloading, right? So that one seems like it could be okay. But in general, for single target bursts, in PvP specifically, and even in PvE, you know, it's just not as attractive anymore. I would much rather, I think, use it on a lava burst where I don't have a second proc, because one of the reasons why I'm not as big of a fan of it is because if you think about it, if you have 2 stacks of Stormkeeper, you echo, then you use them, you're using them, and then you get 1 second later. That's the same as if I just press Stormkeeper and then I just use both lightning bolts, except for the 0.5 seconds of the global cooldown. Now, the only exception to that is I could do damage with that second global to make that second Stormkeeper Lightning Bolt hit particularly hard with another ability. So, like, let's say, for example, I had a ton of Maelstrom and I wanted to do like a burst. What I could do is I could go ahead and let's say I want to use Stormkeeper. I could use that. I could use Echo, and then I could use Lightning Bolt, and then with that second hit, I'd get an Earthquake in between, like with the second attack. So it could be like a way to force damage in a shorter window. But to me, I think it might be more important to use Echo on a few other things, like echoing Earthquakes in PvE definitely seems like it is good, even if it is not using this legendary. And yeah, I know there's a way to get all your Earthquakes that are active using that buff, but I don't think that's necessarily intentional either. But I think that using it on a Lava Burst might be the best way to do single target damage, and or even using on Chain Harvest for AoE, repeating that AoE, because Echo now does work with Chain Harvest. It does do a good amount of damage, and it does do the good amount of heal, so in PvP, it'll be quite strong. PvE, again, if it does crit, it can still do a pretty good amount of damage compared to everything else. That 11k hit is very strong. Now, Echo with the Earthquake is probably better in PvE, but I haven't looked at or dove into the numbers or asked Earthshrine really yet. But I wanted to just point this out to you because I want to know what you think. Is this intentional? Is this the way it should work? Because I don't know. A lot of people have different opinions. People in the stream have been saying, yo, this is broken. Yo, no, this is now fixed. So I'm definitely curious what you think. My personal feelings are it takes away from the single target burst and the cool kind of like bonus ability that you got from Echo. Instead of getting a bonus ability now, it feels like you're just, I don't know, like you're just getting a normal casted ability. It's not like this magical ability out of nowhere. So that's what I'll say about that. Do I think that echoing might be valuable with other things now? Potentially. I think now because of that, maybe it's worth echoing an Earthshock, right? Because now you're going to get 2 spenders off. Maybe it definitely is better to echo Lava Burst because Lava Bursts themselves are just doing a really good amount of damage. So like if I use this for single target, it's doing 4k, right? That's pretty good. So if I were to echo that, I would get 4k and 4k and they'd all crit. So that would be like a bonus one. So like, for example, if I echoed that Lava Burst I just casted, I didn't have another Lava Burst up. There isn't like, I couldn't have casted it if I wanted to. I actually got a bonus proc. So that's what I think is pretty good about it. Now let's go ahead and use Echo on Earthshock. Echo Earthshock is again 3k, so again that's pretty decent. Lava Burst is doing a little bit more, but the good thing about Earthshock, well, actually the sad thing about Earthshock is that they took away that talent that looked like it could be a really good single target burst talent for Earthshock. That was based on the number of fulmination stacks you could spend. The Earthshock would do more damage. But they took that out. And so this makes me a little bit sad for Ellie, mostly because there was some magic here in Echoing Shock, and I'm not totally complaining. If this is intentional, I totally accept it. I'm just trying to figure out if it is or not. And I haven't seen anything about it, Blue Post, otherwise, that it's a bug or that it's a fix. This just started happening in the game about a week and a half ago, which I don't know why. But anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments, guys. I really appreciate all the support on the streams every day, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, twitch.com/Tiqqle this, and on the YouTube channel. You guys have been absolutely insane. You guys have been suggesting content for me to make, so I've been trying my best to do that. I want to keep going, so definitely give me suggestions down in the comments of stuff you want me to test and see. Some people have been saying the Lava Lash legendary on Enhanced. Some people have been saying do me a tier list of legendaries. Whatever it is, let me know below, and thank you so much, guys. And I know 75% of you haven't subbed to the channel. If you hit that sub button, I'll do whatever video you want. Not any, actually. But I'll get Malfurion to do. I'll do a solo video with Malfurion. How about that? He'll do his own video. But anyway, we'll see you in the next one. Take care.